Welcome to Baby Boomer Tales. My name's Jim. You can find us at babyboomertales.com. Once you've landed on our webpage, you can find links to where you can hear our podcast, including Apple, Spotify, and YouTube, which has closed captioning. You can write us at babyboomertales@gmail.com. Thank you for riding along today. Let's get right into this. In 1872, Aaron Montgomery Ward started his mail order business out of Chicago with a one-page, single sheet of paper that had 163 items on it. That's 1872 all this started. By 1904, Ward's mailed out 3 million catalogs to folks that weighed about 4 pounds each. That is a big, thick catalog. In 1921, through their mail order business, you could buy a kit home. Buy a house, put it together yourself. It'll all come to you in pieces. Ward's Kit. In 1926, the company opened its first retail outlet in Plymouth, Indiana. By the end of the 1930s, Ward's was the nation's largest retailer. During World War II, the U.S. government seized Montgomery Ward's operations because Ward's refused to close their retail establishments and concentrate on the war effort. In 1985, Montgomery Ward closed its catalog division. That was their bread and butter. That was the backbone of the company. And in 1985, that part of them went away. I can remember the Christmas catalog. We would lay there in front of the fireplace at the house and dream about all the toys and bikes and punching bags and all that stuff that they had to offer in that Christmas catalog. What a dream. What a dream. Just lay around and turn the pages of that Monkey Ward's catalog till they were dog-eared. In 2001, Montgomery Ward, as we know it, closed its doors. Now there is a Montgomery Ward mail order again. They operate, I think, as a website. You can get on there and see. It's very, very scaled back, and I'm not sure. I don't think it's the same company at all. Somehow they got a hold of that name. After I got married in 1977, I had just decided to get into white-collar work. I was working at a mine when I met Kim, and all of us homeboys basically were working at that mine. It's the best-paying job in the county, and it was wild and dangerous and fun and party hardy and all that stuff. Well, right before I got married, I decided I needed to go into white-collar work. And so a stepping stone to that was I started delivering Frito-Lay potato chips. They gave me a delivery truck and a warehouse, and I serviced about 3 different counties, and it was a lot of work. And I kind of missed the mine because I just was by myself out there, unless I went into a store and you might deal with the owner of the store, but you didn't have your buddies to fool around with or talk with or carpool to work with or any of that stuff. About 2 years into working for the potato chip company, Jay approached me and offered me a job at the Trading Post. So I went to work for Jay, and that, hands down, no doubt about it, was the best job I ever had in my life, period. All the times I worked for myself, all the other times, all the times before, Jay's was the very best job. Well, I was still young and dumb and had a lot of ambition by that time, and I did go into competition against Jay. Didn't think I was, but he was basically a Western clothing store, and so I just opened up a clothing store in the same town. And everything had been fine. We did a great business for a couple of years. Then a terrible thing happened to that town, and businesses started going out of business left and right. Eventually we got sucked down that whirlpool, and I said goodbye to my little hometown where my family and my friends walked away from our home, our business, our schools, and our churches, and we moved to Kansas. And I was so stressed out, I did not want to even tackle anything with a little bit of stress. So for the next 2 years, I started mowing yards, and that was very good for my brain. And actually, it was good for my body too. I gained a bunch of muscle mass, lost a bunch of weight because I did start worrying and eating and stuff like that. And I was trim and I was strong and I was buff. Woo-hoo! It came the fall of the second year, and the leaves around the Kansas City area, it's like a forest here. And I just couldn't deal with picking up thousands and thousands and thousands of pounds of leaves again. So Kim said, well, do something else. You just did that for a temporary thing anyway. You're right, darling. And somehow I saw where Montgomery Ward was hiring. What it was an article about a guy that used to sell appliances at Ward's, and he owned an antique store now or something. But he said what a great company they were to work for. So I went down to the Ward's that was closest to us, and they hired me for the electronics department, selling TVs and stereos and car stereos and that kind of stuff. And it really wasn't a bad job. It really wasn't. All of a sudden I was inside. I didn't see a leaf one or a rake or a mower or any of that stuff. It was warm in the winter and cool in the summer there. I worked with some very nice people. The person that trained me was a girl just fresh out of high school, pretty girl from somewhere in Missouri, had a nice boyfriend, and she was kind and showed me all the ropes. Her name was Amy. Anyway, long story short, I worked in electronics for about 3 years. That's where I first really paid any attention to computers. That was about 1990, I think. And eventually I realized those guys over in the appliance department just kind of stand there and sell stuff. In the electronics department, you're always hooking up TVs and stereos and VCRs and this and that and the other thing. And if you sold a refrigerator over there, you'd make $100. And if you sold a big old TV over here, you'd make 20. And what's wrong with this? So I started politicking to work in the appliance department. Well, getting a transfer in that company was almost impossible. So I ended up quitting, and they called me and asked me to come back, and what I quit for and went to do wasn't working as good as I could do at Ward's. Anyway, the third time I quit, they called me again, said, Jim, what will it take for you to come back? So I thought, and I said, 4 days a week. You got it. Anything else? Yes, sir. I want the appliances. You got it. So my time selling appliances at Ward started. The best guy over at the appliance department to ever learn anything from was Little Rick. He became a very good friend of mine. Him and Johnny and me could sell that stuff. The problem, though, Johnny had was they always try to make you sell a service contract, go along with that washer and dryer or riding lawnmower or refrigerator or whatever. And you had to sell a certain percentage of those for everything you sold, and it wiped Johnny out. He'd get so nervous trying to sell that service contract. All he'd do is talk about the service contract. Usually talk himself out of the service contract with the people because they realized this guy's sweating and stammering and stuttering. And Johnny, just offer it and go on. They'll get me. They'll get me. Oh, poor Johnny. I felt so sorry for him. They did a trip to his head he could not overcome. But Rick and we'd sell the stuff. You want to buy that? That was, extra. They pay you more commission on the service contract than the appliance itself. And everything was commission there. And I did very, very well. They used to use me as an example. Here's Jim. He works at a smaller store and he sells more than you people working at the bigger store. All that kind of stuff. But the politics there and everything that went along with corporate America, if some big shot from Chicago was coming to town, they'd all act differently than you do on day-to-day basis. My main manager, he was a nice guy, but he would just get mean to these people that did not comply with all the little silly rules that they had made. Now, I say silly because in my mind some of them were. I'm not saying that to put Montgomery Ward down at all. You know what I mean? But when I see what stuff like that did to my friend John, or how they'd get you into an interrogation room and try to get you to drink the Kool-Aid, it just wasn't worth it to me. Well, one day my wife came home and said, Kurt just tried to hire me to run his office. And I told him I don't want to do that. I wouldn't be any good at that. I don't really understand all that stuff, but you would. Give him a call. He said to call him. So I called Kurt and I got hired on in the next 18 years as CFO of his company. And it was a good job until it wasn't. And I spent most of my working life there. I did go back to Montgomery Ward one time when they announced in 2001 that they were closing. And I kind of went in and wearing sunglasses and a ball cap and kind of incognito and watching them dismantle the store and having a closeout sale and all that stuff, liquidating Montgomery Ward. It is very bittersweet for me. That place, for 8 years of my life, I made enough money there to put a roof over our heads. We actually bought our house in Kansas after I'd lost everything in Colorado. The Wards was okay. It really was. It's got a special place in my heart that will never go away. They invented Rudolph's Red-Nosed Reindeer, right? A man working for them put together an advertising campaign that featured Rudolph. I remember I'd give a Rudolph's Red-Nosed Reindeer book away if you bought a high-priced refrigerator. Stuff like that. I really think that Johnny would have very much excelled if they wouldn't have pressured him so much to sell the service contracts. To this day, I'm sour on service contracts. Now, if you like them, that's fine. But I was right in the middle of the whole workings of them, and I did not care for them one little bit. Looking back on my life, moving to Kansas, mowing those yards to get rid of stress, and I did. If someone get ugly with me about their yard the way I did it, or if I was 5 minutes late or something, I would just tell them I'm not coming back. I do not need stress. And the funny thing was, when I went to Wards, even though they tried to put that stress on you to sell, I did not take that on. I attribute that to two things: my Lord God and mowing those yards. I saw how the stress of losing a business, how it affected people back home, how it ruined families, ruined people's health. And I wasn't going to participate in that anymore. So Wards was good to me. If I wasn't working there, I may never have got to go to work for Kurt. Now, I'm retired now, kind of. I mean, we sell stuff associated with the podcast, and I do appreciate it when you buy things. I do. You can find a lot of that stuff on our webpage. I advertise items from time to time on our Facebook page. But you know what? Working in life is not about the money. It's about your character and what you're made out of and who you're working for. I was working for my children and for my wife. That's who I was working for. Well, anyway, I think I'm yammering on and on. Montgomery Wards was a good place for me. I have a lot of stories and made a lot of friends. I do know one thing. The reason I was the top salesman there, people like Rick and Johnny and all those people, they go out in the mall, goof around, go to lunch at one of the restaurants there and stuff. Not me. I'd warm up something in one of those microwave ovens I was selling, stand there and eat it, and never leave the sales floor unless I had to pee. I miss little Rick. I tried to look him up once. I think he's findable if I just wanted to bad enough. Maybe I should. I think he lives in Oklahoma now. Always be kind. It's the high road in life. You know that, right? I'll be back next Wednesday. Peace out.